So that's 227 hours saved in a year. So just now picture this in your own mind of like you saving 227 hours in a year. Now, I'm going to divide that by 8 months because we're not busy the whole way through. We're not busy December, January, February, March, right? So I kind of just like averaged it out to being busy 8 months of the year. If I divide 227 hours by 8 months, I end up with 28 hours per month saved during wedding season, right? When I divide that further, that's 7 hours per week saved. So think about that as a full extra day off in a week, full day off in the summer, all of that, right? And guys, this is just me talking about outsourcing to a virtual assistant. I'm not even talking about outsourcing your editing, which is like the bulk of the task that takes up our time, right? When I first started my wedding photography business back in 2011, I made just $5,000 in my business. Now, I bring in multiple 6 figures per year while working only 30-hour weeks serving my dream couples. I'm here to help you discover that it's so possible to have what you want when you want in your business so that you can create the life you've always dreamed of and deserve. So I have exciting news that comes from popular demand from you guys. The doors to my Outsourcing Made Easy for Wedding Photographers online course will be open for enrollment from August 25th to September 1st. I'm doing so because it's the perfect time for photographers to learn how to outsource before a crazy 2021 season, and I teach you how to do so with all budgets in mind. I've taken everything I've learned from my 4-year outsourcing journey, in which I outsourced like 124 weddings, earned $718,000, and saved about 1,400 hours. And I channeled it into a comprehensive step-by-step implementation program that not only teaches you the high-level theory, but the actual execution of how you can build your own sustainable outsourcing foundation in your business. Outsourcing Made Easy isn't so much a training program as it is an implementation program. So yes, you'll learn the strategies behind everything you need to do, but more importantly, you'll have a meticulous step-by-step project plan that leaves nothing out and takes nothing for granted as you implement it with my support along the way. The end result? An incredibly strong, long-term foundation in your business that's ready to provide you with more free time and income for the rest of your entrepreneurial life. So head over to sarahmonica.com/waitlist to be the first to know when the doors open. You won't want to miss this window of opportunity. Welcome back to another episode of the Shine and Thrive podcast, guys. So this is a place where I love to debunk old beliefs and ways of being in the industry. I mean, just because most photographers do things one way, which is to wear all the hats and do everything themselves, doesn't mean it's the only or most effective way. So I'm so excited to dive into this episode to give you a glimpse into what my virtual assistant, Rachel, actually helps me out with. So make sure also to stay tuned to the end of the episode because I'll be letting you know where you can learn about the 4 secrets to making more money and avoiding burnout as a wedding photographer. So keep that in mind as you listen on. To dive in, I'll be sharing the tasks I outsourced to my VA, and I'll be basing the time I saved on about 25 weddings per year, just because sometimes I shoot more weddings per year and sometimes I shoot less. So I'm kind of averaging it out. Plus, I know that most photographers aim to book about 25 a year on average. So I'm kind of just going with that number so you guys can I can paint you a visual of all the hours that the VA helps me with and for it to be more realistic with how many weddings we all shoot. All right, so I'll share with you the amount of hours I save on average per task. And then at the end of that, I'm going to tally up how much I actually save on average per year, per month, per week, and how much it costs me. So I'm really excited to share this with you because I think it's really going to open up your eyes to how much all these little tasks can add up in time, and then how much time you can actually save, and how little it could actually cost you to outsource. So now I'm going to just kind of list off the tasks that I outsource to my VA. So number one, and transferring info from client questionnaires to templates. So this is kind of like, I would have to go into a deeper dive of explaining exactly what it is, but there are certain questionnaires that I send clients throughout the process that I need information from, so I know exactly how to document their day and them authentically. And basically when I get the answers back, it's not like color coded or anything, or not organized well for my mind to memorize things. So I basically have created these templates, and then I have my virtual assistant transfer that information over, and then she saves it for me in my Dropbox folder, very organized under every single client. And then as soon as I need them, I have access to them. I can print them off, memorize them, and all of that. So her helping me with that saves me about 1.5 hours per client. And if I multiply that by 25 weddings per year, that's about 37.5 hours saved. Okay. And you don't have to memorize the numbers or anything. I'm just kind of giving you the numbers, but at the end, I'm going to tally everything up, so it's going to make more sense to you. Okay. So for culling, I've actually trained my virtual assistant how to cull, and this was new this year because for a year and a half before 2020, I had someone else culling for me. She was amazing. She was also just starting her wedding photography venture, and I had trained her how to cull for me. And basically she's gotten busier now to the point where she just can't take on other photographers' work to, help cull for them and stuff, which is amazing. I'm so happy for her. But that meant that I wanted to figure out another person I can outsource culling to. And I was just like, hey, why not outsource this to my virtual assistant and train her how to do it? Because everything is trainable. So that's new. And she's doing so well. It's been about 3 weeks and she's already pretty much culling almost like I would. It's about 80% there now, and I'm still like giving feedback and all of that. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with how it's going. So I outsource my culling now to my virtual assistant, and that saves me about 3 hours per wedding on average. You guys know how it is, give and take, and about 1 hour per session. So I'm kind of adding in sessions here just a little bit. So overall, I would say on 25 weddings, maybe a handful of sessions a year, that saves me 95 hours per year. So number 3, she helps me curate photos for short slideshows that I deliver to clients, as well as blog posts. So one little trick that I do actually is I have to be like super effective and efficient. I actually create short slideshows for my clients of the top 95 storytelling images. And that's the very first experience they have of their wedding images. So they sit down, they watch this 3-minute slideshow. But in order for me to get that short slideshow to them, I would have to go through hundreds and hundreds of images and pick the best storytelling ones to tell the story in like a movie type of way. So I've actually trained my virtual assistant how to storytell and pick the best 95 photos from a wedding day, and be able to, for like the slideshow to just be like cohesive, concise, and emotional too, right? But at the same time as she's picking these photos for the short slideshow, those are going to end up being my blog post photos. So I'm feeding 2 birds with one seed. I prefer saying that than killing 2 birds with one stone. When I heard that expression shift, I was like, oh yeah, that's a better way of saying it. Yeah, so that's super efficient. So that saves me about an hour per client. Sometimes, it could take longer if there's more images or the day just had so many moments. So an hour, hour and a half, but let's stick with an hour per client. So that saves me 25 hours per year. Number 4, she also creates my short and long slideshows for my clients. So my clients get this short slideshow that's 3 minutes long, and then I give them instructions once they're done watching that. They end up watching the long slideshow, which is literally a whole slideshow from every single photo of their day. So that saves me about another hour per client, and that's another 25 hours per year. Number 5, she actually helps me organize wedding galleries for my clients within Pixieset. And if you want to learn more about that, check out episode number 12 for more about this. I talk more about that. And she also sends a full gallery along with all the slideshows, the 2 slideshows, to my clients. So she's the one that sends it off. So I know it's a task that doesn't take that long. It takes about 25 minutes, but everything adds up. And as soon as I started outsourcing, I really realized how the more you can outsource, the better for everyone involved. So that saves me about 25 minutes per client, and that's another 6.25 hours per year. Number 6, she actually is my album designer. I trained her how to design albums for my clients exactly how I would. There's a way to do that. And I've also created like, like email templates basically on how she can deal with any situation with clients. She does the album proofing with them. So she basically chats with them over email, designs their album, does the proofing, and then it's kind of ready to go. So it's kind of like a passive income for me, basically. So for album design, I would say that saves me about 2 hours per client on average, because I know it takes really, I use Fundy, we use Fundy, but and using Fundy, it doesn't take that long to like move everything around, put in the photos, right? But you still have to put into account the communication with the client, right? So I would say on average, I sell about 10 albums per year at the moment. So that saves me 20 hours per year. So number 7, she helps me put together the actual blog posts. So as soon as we have those, top curated images, if I do want to blog a wedding, then she basically has that all together. I do have someone else, which is a content writer that I hired to kind of tell the story of the day and write it out in like a strong SEO format for the blog post. And I have like a 3-minute quick workflow to assign that to that person. So that's another thing that I teach in my Outsourcing Made Easy course. But basically she does the whole thing where she has to actually put it all together. She then takes the content that my content writer wrote, puts it in there, SEOs it, does all this magical stuff, and the blog post is scheduled and all of that. So that saves me an hour per post. And I would say on average, I blog 12 times a year. I could be doing more. I think I'm going to prioritize that, but it's been the most I've ever blogged ever, because now I actually have a system and someone helping me with that. I'm taking a moment to pause this episode to share an exciting free resource with you that I know you'll definitely want to take advantage of. It's a space where I'll be going live at a minimum every 2 weeks to answer your questions, along with content to keep you motivated in between podcast episodes. It's a way for us to connect about photography, business, personal development in an uplifting, productive, and safe space. This free resource I'm telling you about right now is the Shine and Thrive podcast community on Facebook. What I felt was missing with me just podcasting was actually interacting with you and answering the questions you have along the way. I know what it feels like to feel stuck, and at times all you need is that one question answered or that kick in the ass, in the best way possible, to get your momentum going again. In short, I want to be there for you to answer your questions so that you can achieve those big and exciting results you dream of. The Ask Me Anything live sessions I'll be doing every 2 weeks are exclusive only to this community, so you want to make sure to join and get your question ready for me. So head over to Facebook right now, type in Shine and Thrive Podcast Community, and request to join. We will be waiting for you on the other side with open arms. I cannot wait to connect with you. And number 8, she creates Insta story graphics for wedding blogs for me. So she basically does that on Canva. So she doesn't even have to be a designer. You guys know how amazing Canva is now. But we basically just kind of like figured out a way of the style that I like and what I want included and all of that. And that saves me about 30 minutes per wedding blog post. So let's say that's 12 posts a year again. So that saves me 6 hours. So in total, This is kind of just like, these are the tasks that have to do with my photography side of my business, not my education side of my business. So that's 227 hours saved in a year. So just now picture this in your own mind of like you saving 227 hours in a year. Now, I'm going to divide that by 8 months because we're not busy the whole way through. We're not busy in like December, January, February, March, right? So I kind of just like averaged it out to being busy 8 months of the year. So if I divide 227 hours by 8 months, I end up with 28 hours per month saved during wedding season, right? So when I divide that further, that's 7 hours per week saved. So think about that as a full extra day off in a week, full day off in the summer, all of that, right? So now let me tell you how much this will cost you. So it'll cost you, drum roll, $35 per week for the 7 hours. And you're probably thinking like, how the heck? So it's because you are able to actually find a virtual assistant that you can pay $5 an hour Canadian. And that ends up being about $140 a month. So times 8 months. So that's very, very doable. And so let me tell you, basically, I started my virtual assistant off at $5 an hour Canadian. And over time, I love to give her incremental raises about like 25 cents at a time over time, because I want to be able to get them to a place where they can be paid even more and even more. But keep in mind that this is because my virtual assistant is from the Philippines, and it's only because the conversion rate of the dollar that it's so low for us. So she still gets paid really well and gets to live the lifestyle she wants to, and she is working from home and she's with her husband and her daughter at home, and she's just literally living that entrepreneurial life just like we are. So it's been about a year now since I hired on Rachel. And before that, I had another virtual assistant, but she had a family situation happen and she wasn't able to work for me anymore. So I've had to rehire and switch. But now I pay Rachel $7 an hour Canadian. So I've given her incremental raises over time. And you don't even have to do that. I just chose to do so because I want to take her to like full time with me, and I want to make it worth her while, and I want to show her that I actually care about her, and I want her to make as much money as possible, even if it's more money than she normally would for this position. So for me, since I pay her $7 an hour Canadian, that 7-hour week would cost me $49. So it's so doable. And this is such an amazing way for photographers to start getting help, because actually when I first started this whole outsourcing journey, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, when I started outsourcing to a virtual assistant that was $50 an hour in Canada. And what had happened was I realized I ended up not outsourcing to her because it was just costing way too much, and it just wasn't making sense to spend $100 on a blog post. So I kind of stopped, but then I was burnt out and I didn't know how to find my way to actually living that freedom lifestyle that I set out to by starting my own business. So when I ended up investing in myself and investing in a $4,000 online course called BBD by James Wedmore. He's incredible. And through his teachings, I learned how to train someone how to outsource and how to teach that. And I actually created systems that work for me as a photographer. He's in a whole nother industry, but I actually was able to apply that knowledge and apply it to what I need in my own life. And I was able to figure it out and find out about hiring virtual assistants from the Philippines and still be able to support an amazing family and helping someone live that freedom lifestyle too. So if it's possible for you to pay someone even $7 an hour to do those tasks for you, just as well as you would, because there are totally ways to teach someone how you do exactly what you do, why would you sit around doing those $7 an hour tasks when you could be doing other things like spending more time with family and friends, finally taking out time to, do that hobby that's been on your bucket list, or even like taking on more shooting, right? One additional shoot or wedding would make you way more money than the $49 you would be spending on your VA in 1 week. You'd have so much more time to also market your services, right? That way you could get more bookings and shoot more and literally shoot more and work less, because all those other tasks won't be bogging you down. And guys, this is just me talking about outsourcing to a virtual assistant. I'm not even talking about outsourcing your editing, which is like the bulk of the time, the task that takes up our time, right? So another thing to keep in mind is that when you hire your VA, you can simply start small and offer them 2 hours per week, and then 5, and then 10, and so on. So that's how I got started. And then once you get the ball rolling on how to outsource to them in a way that produces results that you're actually happy with, it ends up being like a freaking game, because you'll want to figure out what other energy or time-sucking tasks you can let go of. And because you'll know how to actually do it, you'll just be addicted to it. It's like the best thing ever. So my virtual assistant, Rachel, also helps me with other parts of my business. And right now she's working about 20 to 25 hours per week. And my goal is to get her to full time. So she helps me with other things like SEO and podcast production and helping with course creation. Like, she edits together videos and designs PDF worksheets. So I give her like the outline of what I need in the worksheets for my students, and she actually like puts them together, uploads them into my online course platform, all of that. And with SEO, man, this is a hack for you guys. So I bought a SEO course, and I had Rachel take the course, and it took her like maybe 6 hours to learn it, or 7 or 8, somewhere around there. And I paid her $7 an hour. So maybe, I spent like $600 on the SEO course, but then I spent like maybe $60 on her learning it. And now she's able to do my SEO too. Isn't that just a like mind blown moment? So there's just so much you can do with a VA, and yeah, I can't freaking recommend it enough. So these are some other things that she helps me with, but I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole talking about that, because what I wanted to do in this episode was to keep it simple and streamlined, so I can show you that if your main focus is only being photographer, I want to show you what you could get out of outsourcing to a VA. So just remember this, we started our own photography business for different reasons, but one thing I'm sure of is that we all value having more free time and money in our lives. I know when I set out to be a photographer almost, oh my gosh, 10 years ago now, I thought I would be shooting much more than I was, but I realized that shooting was only 10% of the freaking job, because you know how it is. I had to wear all the hats and do everything else. And only once I figured out how to outsource in a way that gets me the results I want, that's when I truly felt free, and I felt like a business owner, and I felt like a photographer, because I got to shoot more and I got to make more money that I knew I deserved, right? We give this amazing gift to people, and we deserve so much abundance back. And I also had more free time to do what I wanted, when I wanted. And instead of being chained to the computer, I was free, right? So I'm just so passionate about this. I believe every photographer needs to have a virtual assistant. So guys, with that said, I want to invite you to a webinar I'm hosting next week, where you will learn the 4 secrets to making more money and avoiding burnout as a wedding photographer. So it'll be live, so you'll actually be able to ask me questions near the end of the presentation, and I'll also be sharing with you more of my actual numbers from my business, so you can see how much I spend on outsourcing and other areas such as editing, which is like the biggest area, right? And I know I'm a visual learner, and I know a bunch of you are too, so there'll be actual like charts and graphs like showing you things. So it's one thing to listen to a podcast episode and take in the numbers, it's another thing to actually visually see everything. So to register, head over to sarahmonica.com/webinar, and it's Sarah, no H, Monica with a K.com/webinar. And I'm only hosting this next week, and that's it. So you won't want to miss it. And you won't want to miss out seeing how you can make more money as a photographer while avoiding burnout at the same time. It's so possible for you to have it all. And I want to be the one to show you how. So head over to sarahmonica.com/webinar right now before you forget or before you do anything else. And I'll see you in the next episode, where I'm so excited to dive into why you don't have to cap your wedding bookings in 2021. It's going to be a goodie, because I will show you that you can make a lot more money than you think this year and next year. Anyway, hope you have an amazing day, and thank you so much for hanging out with me. Yay! Thank you so much for hanging out with me and tuning into this episode. If you got value out of it, please feel free to message me on Instagram at Sarah Monica Photo. That's Sarah no H, Monica with a K, photo, to let me know. I get so freaking energized hearing from others that what I've said has had a positive impact on their lives. Also, make sure to hit subscribe to the Shine and Thrive podcast to never miss an episode. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm sending you all the productive vibes your way so you have the best week ever.